Hello everyone. This is Adam Tarek, Adam T30 from Twitter, as you know me from being the host of 3.0 for quite a few episodes. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Arnau. His spelling is Arnau, and he's been with us. He met us at ETH Dubai conference with the team of Exord, Shakib. So we also have Shakib with us, who would be the co-host for our podcast. As this topic, as you know, is about ZK rollups, and it's quite a technical thing. And Shakib, being the CTO for Exord and the head of research, he has been in this space for a long time. So hello Arnav,
Hello,
how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
So Arnav, could you tell us something about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, well, my journey into blockchain. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff, but the interesting things starts happen when I joined Ident3, and Ident3 was a company that wanted to build a product on based it on like for an identity solution, based it on blockchain and zero knowledge proofs. Very interesting stuff. And by the way, this right now this has evolved into Polygon ID, which was announced recently. But anyway, there I joined like the core team, and we were building like the protocol stuff and so on. I was focusing on more backend stuff and client stuff, working with Golang, and yeah, and this was an amazing project. However, for it to work, we needed scalability, and since we had like the ZK know-how, we decided to spin off Python 3 into Hermez, and Hermez is focusing on building ZK rollups. Right now, we have a rollup in production, which is used for payments, so ERC20 transfers. And right now, we are building a more generic rollup that is EVM compatible, and like uh, right now this is heavily work in progress, but we hope to release it soon enough, and I'm super excited about it.
Okay, so from what I've seen, that you have been in the space from since 2019. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, before that I was doing other stuff, like I was working on a company called MetaLife. We that was working on a blockchain focused web browser, kind of similar to Brave, but the company failed, and so I had the opportunity to look for other stuff, and that's how I ended in Identity. And of course, before that, I was definitely interested on blockchain and reading about it and learning about it, but not kind of so actively or in a professional level.
So, how has your journey been till now, from the start till here? How do you feel about the Web3? How do you feel about the technology and stuff?
Okay, so first of all, I mean, I guess that my first time that I realized it about how cool is blockchain tech. It was, I mean, I read about it before, but I remember that after university, I was looking into creating a startup, something like that. And I was thinking into building an application to exchange products, like give stuff that you don't want anymore and receive stuff that you want. And I wanted to build it in a peer-to-peer way because it was supposed to be for small, like very local communities. And it was like, why should we need a cloud knowing everything from everyone? And while you could have some kind of peer-to-peer stuff to build this. So I researched a bit on the topic of peer-to-peer databases, and I first learned about IPFS, and but it was quite tricky to build this with IPFS. And then like later on, like I'm from Catalonia, like part of Spain, that there is like a strong independence movement. And one day I found an article that was explaining about IPFS and some blockchain, and we had kind of a referendum, and they used IPFS for part of the infrastructure, and I was very excited about this. and that was the thing that clicked to me in terms of, okay, like this technology is amazing because it can deliver these unstoppable and censorship resistance properties. Besides all of the pricing and the token is going up thing, which I was already aware because Bitcoin at that moment was already quite a thing. And then so that's kind of what gained like what made me interested in the tech in the first place. And later on, as I said, I joined Item 3, which became Hermes, and later on got acquired by Polygon. So right now it's like this. We are at Polygon Hermez and building this amazing technology.
So yeah, that's quite a great journey that you told us about. So we also have Shakib. So Shakib, won't you agree with me that this space is all about testing and bringing more startups and doing innovation and again and again. If you feel that your idea is not up to the mark right now, you could just start again and bring on something new. Like Arnav has that experience.
All this time, like, yeah, Ram has been like talking about like and asking about like the background and your opinion about Web3. So I think there's like one thing that I he missed is that which is like the most prominent thing, and that is like currently like you are with the like Polygon Hermes team, and you are building like the backend stuff for the like Polygon Hermes rollup. So I think I agree with Arham with the statement that yeah, in Web3 there are like tons of different ideas coming into like every day, and like people like are like bringing into the ecosystem, and like they're collaborating with each other, they're like raising funds, and but yeah, only those ideas are like surviving, which are basically like providing real value to the ecosystem in terms of like scalability, in terms of like finance, in terms of like social use cases or anything. So I want to like ask about your opinion on this, Arnav, and like what do you think is the like current state of Ethereum, and how you're like perceiving the current ecosystem? Like where are we going, and as compared to like where we were in like 2019 or 2020 when you joined, how much the ecosystem has changed since then? So yeah, I would like to like, know your opinion on that as well.
Sure. So I mean, definitely like since there, like I would say the main events has been like the DeFi summer and the NFT summer. Probably everyone is aware of it. And definitely like crazy good stuff happening in these spaces. I mean, you may like it or dislike it more. Like this specific kind of set of applications. But in the end, I mean, I think like well, DeFi may be more mature and there is like these DeFi levels that are doing crazy things, um, which are great. But in my opinion, what the blockchain can bring goes way beyond this. And I'm more excited on the DAO stuff. And I would say that the DAO space has not thrived or it's not or has not succeeded as much as NFTs or DeFi. Probably because I mean like coordination it's a very hard problem. So like it's kind of so currently I think that the space is kind of trying to mimic like outside of the blockchain stuff and bringing it into the blockchain, but with added features and improvements. Um, that's why I
I
mean
think
DeFi
from the
yeah.
like aspect of DAO, what they are like currently, what they're trying to do is that instead of like implementing the technology itself, the DAOs are implementing the basic ethos of Web3 in their
Mhm,
organization, which is like the belief or the ideology that of the decentralization and like token economies and network economies. So they are like bringing that kind of stuff, and yeah, that kind of stuff like, as you also said, it's like off chain. The blockchain is not the blockchain is not implemented on it. The blockchain is like only implemented either on like specific DAO tools, such as like
mhm.
payroll management or like any other basic DAO management operations. So yeah, I think that's the reason that DAOs hasn't like got the attention that they deserve basically. It's because the implementation of the technology is there's still like a bridge between the actual implementation and the current implementation. So that bridge has to be like filled, and it needs time, according to my opinion.
Yeah, like I would say that DAOs are very hard to make the right way because like the problem in the first place is more abstract. And I mean, definitely there is some great work being done and DAOs with quite a big success. But what I was trying to say is that like there is like a huge room for improvement until we fulfill like the DAO idea completely. Like, and I'm talking here about crazy moonshots like having entire governments built on top of DAOs and stuff like that. And of course, like this will not happen over the night, and I mean it's quite a heavy challenge. But this is the stuff that I think that like the that can thrive on the blockchain and be a game changer for society the most. I mean, of course, like economy independence
Yeah.
and all this other stuff is great, but in my opinion, it will fall small compared to what
Mm.
DAOs will bring in the future. Personal opinion.
So so yeah, as you like mentioned that now has like still a long way to go, and before like actually realizing the ideal vision of like how the DAOs should be like executed. So and this is like the case for like currently like all of the use cases on blockchain, like from like DeFi perspective and NFT perspective. And if we like do an inspection, so all the problem comes down to the scalability, like how scalable the blockchain is. So there's been like different definitions of scalability, like from like context of different blockchains. Solana has like some other definition of scalability. Binance has some other definition, and like Ethereum, the idea of Ethereum, the idea of scalability in Ethereum is really different. So, what is scalability like according to you? How would you define scalability? And this question is basically links back to the problem that you guys faced at Ident 3 as well, like building up the like identity solution. Then you realize that the infrastructure was not ready, so you basically worked on the scalability part by building Hermes, which was like acquired by Polygon, as known as Polygon Hermes. So, what is scalability to you?
So the way I measure scalability, it's essentially by throughput or transactions per second. And I mean, transactions per second can be a bit misleading because it's not the same just sending like the native token of a blockchain like Ethereum versus doing crazy smart contract interaction. But yeah, transaction throughput, then finality or delay. So how many time it takes from when a user send a transaction until this transaction is included into a block, and finally, cost. Cost is an important metric that it's essentially correlated to, I mean, it's related to scalability as well. Yeah.
All right. And how do you think like the current zero knowledge technology is solving this scalability problem? So if I like ask you like explain like I'm five zero knowledge. So how would you define zero knowledge then?
Okay, so zero knowledge essentially allows to prove that a certain problem has a result. So in this case, we are proving that some transactions that user sends provides the output, but it does in a way that you don't need to actually do the computation. So, in particular, in the rollup perspective, what happens is that the smart contract verifies this proof. So you store the transactions on layer one, and the smart contract is able to understand what happens after processing these transactions without having to actually process them. I mean, ZK stuff, it's quite complicated to fully understand,
Hmm.
but this, like especially in the under the scope of scalability, this is kind of how it works.
So yeah, in terms of like in scalability for all the users that are like listening, so what happens in blockchain is that after like you propagate the transaction, so the miners actually re-execute a transaction to like verify the batch. So what the scalability solution does is that you don't need to like reprocess the transaction. You just believe, or you just like trust the cryptographic computational proof, or the commitment, whether you are using the optimistic rollup or ZK rollup. So so that basically cuts off the cost of like reprocessing the transaction and creating the batch again. So that's the thing that which basically scales the blockchain. So uh, we have like talk about zero knowledge in case in the context of like scalability. So if I like talk about how would you like how would you explain the term just zero knowledge to like any person who's like new to the field and they like want to like jump in. So they have just heard this like fancy and shiny term zero knowledge. So how would you like explain to them what is zero knowledge?
Yeah, so I already explained one of the cool properties of zero knowledge, which is succinct, meaning that it's that like you don't need to execute the entire thing to believe the result of executing such a thing. But there is another very interesting property of zero knowledge, which is like it makes more justice to the ZK name, which is related to privacy. So besides of not having to execute every single thing, you can hide part of the data behind. So essentially imagine like you have a function, right? Like and a function have some inputs and an output. So what zero knowledge allows to do is to hide some part of these inputs, but still understanding the output. For instance, let me put an example. Like imagine like you go into a club and you're asked to show your ID card to prove that you are over certain age and get into the club. So when you do that, you're revealing a lot of information, not only your age, like what's your ID number, the name of your parents, and so on and so forth. And with zero knowledge, what you can do is like demonstrate that you are over the age without even revealing your actual age. Like, okay, I'm over 18 or I'm over 21 or whatever. But that's the only information that you disclose. And like you have this zero knowledge magic that allows whoever is verifying to believe this, not in terms of trust, but in terms of, okay, there is some strong cryptographic guarantees here that I'm gonna believe this because I mean it's maths, right? I mean, I mean, as long as there is no one breaking the cryptography, it should be safe. And I mean, if anyone breaks the cryptography, we will have many problems, not only in blockchain but anywhere else.
Yeah. So it's like the magic of like the cryptography enabling this like fancy technology. Um, so if like if I ask you like what's the different kind of like the contribution areas uh, anyone like who's either like starting their journey or like they have been like in the programming industry since like they have experience in that. So what are different contribution areas one can like participate in, and what are like different technology aspect or R&D aspect that one can like dive into, and from the like ZK perspective?
Okay, so like I would say that there are two very different parts here, and just talking about ZK, not blockchain in general. And so the first part is like the core technology, like the cryptography, and this is very challenging and hard. I mean, we are talking about the maths and cryptography. So, like to be honest, I'm not an specialist on it, not even close. But like this will be more related to reading papers and this kind of more academic stuff. And and yeah, like just look for ZK papers and you can start by there. But then like there is another completely different field which I think it's very interesting and underrated, which is building ZK apps. And right now we are in a point where we already have some languages and abstraction layers that allow people without a strong cryptographic background to build stuff. For instance, at Eigen3, we developed an open source sitcom, which is precisely a language to build zero knowledge. And I mean, it's not as easy as using JavaScript or Golang or any other well-known programming language, but it's still a programming language, and you can learn it and you can build ZK applications. And one good example of it, it's again Polygon ID, and which is building an identity solution using this zero knowledge stuff. Um, and there are many others for sure, but here's my point: like the ZK space in terms of applications, like the ZK space in terms of applications, I think it's an space that has not been very well explored. Of course, because like the technology is still quite new, and there are a lot of challenges. Like one thing that we have not talked about is that generating these zero knowledge proofs, it's very hard in terms of computation requirements. So you need heavy machines, and it still takes quite a lot of time. But this is getting better. I mean, technology is improving, and abstraction layers are improving, and I think that in the years that are to come, like in the coming years, we will see more and more applications using this technology, not only for scaling, but for providing privacy solutions, which is also something very interesting. And I mean, because the space has not been explored, there is a lot of room for for new players to come with great ideas that couldn't be done before, and since the tech was not ready. But the tech is getting better, and like I encourage everyone to learn how to build these applications and came with great ideas, because like the market is so fresh that the first ones who get there probably will have like a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and I think from to all the listeners, so there are like a lot of resources are like now available for the Circom as well. So there's like one thing that I would like to share with my experience while learning Circom is that the mistake that the people do is that they dive very deep into like the cryptographic or the mathematical stuff. So what I would like suggest to the like to all the like the new programmers, so like get a use case and also like side by side build that using the using Circom as well, so that you see things how they are like being done in actual manner. So how the like the ceremony is being done using the gross 16 or like the plong proof system. So yeah, just get your hands dirty and you will like find your way. That's the motto. So uh, so yeah, Circom and like the R&D stuff is like really hot right now in the ZK space, and like yeah, a lot of like organizations and a lot of like communities are like DAOs are like being built up to like teach people about ZK stuff. I think there's a DAO that I heard is a ZK DAO, which is like being made by the Harmony blockchain, and the purpose of that DAO is just to like facilitate the zero knowledge learning and the Circom learning. So yeah, a lot of like things are like being done in this space right now. So Arnav, next thing that I would like to ask is that um, you guys have been like acquired by Polygon, I think last year for I think $200 million. Like yeah, that was a deal. I think yeah, Polygon Hermez. So how how is your journey like since then now? Were there any changes being made like in terms of like the work freedom or the autonomy or the product idea or any other how's the journey since then after like joining the Polygon?
Yeah, so I'm actually super happy for how things roll out. Like when we ever first heard the news, we were a bit scared because it looked like a massive change, and we didn't know how what things will imply this change. But now that it has been almost a year since this happened, essentially we are still working as before. Like we are still the same people. I mean, we have onboarded many new developers since then, but the modus operandi, and so it's pretty much the same. So we have a lot of autonomy, but then again, we also have the ability to cooperate and to get help from many other guys in other Polygon projects, and for sure there is like crazy talented people there that we can benefit from having them like very close and very reachable, especially for the other ZK projects such as Zero and Maiden, um, because there is not that many experts in the world in ZK, and now Polygon have a bunch of them, and sharing ideas from among these guys has been like very productive. Like we have borrowed some concepts from other projects that had like that they are having a huge impact on what we are doing, and like the same from our team. Like we are helping other teams, and we are sharing knowledge and ideas, uh, but this is not like what you perceive in the day to day, right? I mean, like developers keep working on their teams and with same structures and so on. So I love this because it's like we are kind of mini companies inside a big company, and this gives us a lot of flexibility. Um, like if you have a huge organization, it's harder to manage. But we are kind of a decentralized ecosystem inside this umbrella, and we can like we have bridges for collaboration and cooperation, but we still remain flexible. And so I mean I'm very happy for how things are going, and like the Polygon company, it's amazing, and like in terms of vision and everything, it's like I think that we are very well aligned. And but the most important thing definitely is that we had like as Hermes, we had a problem of onboarding users. We kind of failed at that for our first rollup. And so when Polygon acquired, like it makes so much sense because it's like Polygon already has a massive user base, and so if you combine this user base with our technology, I mean, I think that we will succeed. Of course, we are still building the thing, but this is the idea of why we wanted to merge with Polygon and not anyone else.
Yeah, and as you like mentioned about the like Polygon Zero team, so which was like previously known as Mir protocol, and those guys were working on, and yeah, it's like great to see Polygon like betting on different proof systems of ZK and see like which ones like is the best as the like times goes on. And yeah, so all it must be like really great to like work among all those like giga brains and and nerds and like mathematicians and wizardry stuff. So yeah, so uh, I want to like know your opinion upon like one thing as well, and that is like how would you like differentiate for the like users what is like optimistic rollup and what is like ZK rollup? So what's the difference between both of those, and how like it should be perceived?
Hmm. So I mean, they are both rollups. So definitely there is a lot of the ideas are being shared among these two models. So it's this idea of not having to process the transactions on chain, which is where the scalability happens, right? And so essentially, like in both models, you have off-chain sequencers who collect transactions and submit these transactions on chain. But then, like from there, it's where it comes the difference between optimistic and ZK, right? So optimistic, essentially, what they do is they submit this data on chain, and anyone can prove if something has done wrong. I mean,
Mm,
like they have this concept of fraud proofs. So you
yeah.
need a set of validators who are looking for sequencers cheating. And if they detect someone cheating, they can submit a fraud proof and invalidate the whole thing. And then, like according to each protocol, you could have like different things such as slashing and so on. But this is the main idea. Where in ZK, like you again have this data availability on chain, but instead of trusting in that you will have, there will be some nice actor who submit these fraud proofs. Like everyone, like these sequences have to be verified using ZK technology. So essentially, you have these transactions, and you submit a proof that demonstrates the outcome of processing these transactions. And so this is the key difference, right? Like on optimistic, you rely on game theory and people submitting these fraud proofs, where in ZK, you rely on cryptography alone. Like you either have a valid proof and the block is valid, or you don't.
Okay. While you were talking, you also like discuss about the data availability. You like so what's this fancy term data availability, and like what's the role of it like in the like the future architecture of blockchain? How
Mhm.
important it is? So can you like shed some light on that topic as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So data availability, I mean, the name is quite self-explanatory. So it's having some piece of data that it's available, so everyone can download. And the idea here is that, uh, like, plain rollups put this data on chain, like on Ethereum. And so by using any Ethereum node, you are able to recover this data, and like with this data, you can reconstruct the entire layer two chain. So like if you think on layer one, like you have a peer-to-peer network of nodes that have to share the data among them. But in layer two, this is way easier because you just put data on chain and you read data from chain. So you don't have to build complex peer-to-peer mechanisms. Um, but then again, like there is a problem here, right? Because storing data on Ethereum is expensive.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, and for the users, so so data availability, Polygon is like also working on a one data availability solution known as Polygon Avail, and other than that, there's like one more popular solution known as Threscia. Uh, like these two like are the main products that are working in the like data availability solutions time. So uh, so yeah, do you have like for like to summarize the difference that you told about optimistic rollups and ZK rollups? So one has like fraud proofs and one has like validity proofs. So it's like the difference between the usage of proof systems is basically creating like how the rollup should be like perceived. So uh, can we like you have must have heard about like EIP 4844 about the like the blob transaction and the discussion of like about the increasing the size of the call data. So what's your like opinion about it? So yeah, can you like tell us about it as well?
Yeah. So as I was saying, storing data on chain, it's expensive. And just to give a small follow up on you mentioned about Celestia and Abel.
Yeah.
So these are projects who are essentially saying, okay, instead of sending data to L1, we have a dedicated different network which is focused only on data availability, and this should be way more cheaper than Ethereum, and but still reliable because it's decentralized, trustless, and so on. So this is one potential way to fix the storage problem, like the data availability problem. Um, but it has some other problems, which is you then have two different networks and you have to coordinate them, and it's not
Mm.
that trivial. I mean, it's something can a way to go that must be explored. But like the end game here, it's like okay, let's make layer one data availability cheaper, and this is where EIP 4844 comes. And well, first of all, like in the Ethereum roadmap for so long, there has been this idea of sharding, um, which its main goal is to have cheaper storage, and like essentially EIP 4844 is a shortcut into this, which enables like huge improvements already without having to have like full sharding. Um, and like the EIP, it's a quite complex idea behind this EIP, but like the basic basic idea behind this is that um, like you are able to store some data, that will not persist forever,
Yeah.
and that's and besides that, like you cannot access the entire data from the smart contracts. So
Yeah.
essentially, the data is not part of the like state accessible to the EVM, but you still can access a proof of this data. So you can use this proof to play with the either the validity proofs or the fraud proofs, and essentially, I mean, there is a lot of technicalities here, but the idea is that it's an EIP that brings way cheaper storage, which is precisely what rollups need the most right now.
Yeah, and one more thing that this EIP it's like it has introduced, and that was the concept of blob transactions. So introducing like another type of transaction, like to store only the commit KZG commitment like hash into uh, SHA-256 and to like encode into 32 bytes. So that was like another like the proposition of this EIP as well. So
Mhm.
uh, the user might be thinking like why not just like increase the call data size and just go away with it, like why uh, introducing a new commitment mechanism, a new transaction type, but not increasing the call data size. So I have been like researching upon you can like correct me if I'm wrong, so I've been like researching upon this. So uh, if we like increase the call data size, so eventually there will be like more data on the blockchain. So that is not the purpose of this EIP. The purpose of this like EIP is to like shrink down the size of the blockchain, by storing the commitments, not the data. So if we are like increasing the call data size, so like we are again dumping the data on the blockchain, and eventually like increasing the block size, which will like increase the data storage. So it like nullifies or like contradicts the whole concept of like data availability solutions and the modular blockchain that like we are like perceiving in the future. So yeah, that's how like I perceive and about the this EIP and this the block transition concept. So so right now, if I like talk about the current state of ZK rollups, so uh, they are like still under development, and they're like or not all the like ZK rollups like support the journal execution of like smart contracts, because you need like different circuits for like different purpose of applications. So it's like a still a very not immature, but a very it's still a very early age from like the development and like the actualization point of view. So even the current ZK ecosystem, like if I talk about the ZK sync, so not like anyone can join that network and become a validator, because like it's complex at this current time. And even like the Polygon Hermez is like working on the proof of efficiency consensus algorithm, which you also gave talk on ETH Dubai. So what are the like reasons or your opinion, like why ZK rollup would win over like in the long run, and why would someone bet on this instead of like the optimistic approach, or any other approach, such as the parachain approach of the Polkadot? So why ZK rollup would win? So can you like tell us that as well?
Okay, so first of all, the guys from working on optimistic rollups are doing great job, and like one thing that I love from this space is that people is very open to collaborate and share, and like we take ideas from you, you take ideas from us, and that's great. And on the other hand, I don't think that it will be like just one winner. I think that eventually there will exist like many different solutions, and according to your needs, like users will be able to opt in into whatever it fits the better for them. But like of course I think that ZK rollups are like the better solution in the long run, and like the main reason for it is that when I was explaining the like fraud proofs versus validity proofs, like the one of the problems of optimistic is because they rely on this game theory. They need a lot of time um, for finality. So like once you send a block, like a layer 2 block, there is like a window of time in which anyone can send this fraud proof, right? And this window of time right now, I think it's around 1 week, something like that. I mean, for sure, it depends on every protocol, like a specific optimistic rollup implementation. But this finality, it's huge, and what it actually means for the users is that if you want to withdraw from this layer 2 back into layer 1 or to other layer 2s, you will have to wait this massive amount of time. Whether in ZK it's way faster. I mean, as you said, there is no actual generic ZK rollup on production, but we are talking here about minutes, like not like minutes, worst case, close to an hour. But I would say
Yeah,
like it's below 10 minutes probably once the thing is ready, and it will get faster until we break like under 2 minutes and then another 1 minute in later. Which I mean, of course, it's way better than 1 week. I would say that, and besides that, conceptually, it's always better to rely in plain cryptography rather than game theory and people behaving well and so on. Um, but yeah, and related to other layer one ecosystems, I'm very biased towards Ethereum. I mean,
yeah.
Ethereum has been battle tested and has
Mm.
gone through very tough times and has been proven to work and work well. And besides that, it has like the most vibrant ecosystem. It's where the innovation is happening. I mean, DeFi Summer happened first on Ethereum and then it was propagated to other ecosystems. Same for NFTs. And I'm fully convinced that once we have the next big thing, it will be created first on Ethereum
Mm.
and then copied on other ecosystems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah. From the like innovation perspective, I totally agree with you that Ethereum has been like leading the blockchain industry from like, the innovation perspective, because I think because it also depends upon the work nature of Ethereum. People are like not working in a closed source manner. Even like the companies such as Polygon and other companies which are like working on like any specific solution, but the nature of work is like anyone like can contribute on it, and if they have the right skills, they can like join the team as well. So because and that's the barrier to entry in the Ethereum ecosystem as a developer, as a like contributor, is very low. So it basically can anyone can join it, like how they want to like contribute. So yeah, okay. I think Aram, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. It's been quite some time since you guys were discussing about all these ZK rollups and stuff, and it was quite actually a very good talk, as I got to learn a lot about what how things are going on in that side of the world because I'm quite a non-technical guy and I like to just give a catch of what these things are and just learn how to market them. That because that's what I do. So yeah, it's been a really good talk, Arnav, with you. And I would like all the listeners to have a look at Arnav's work on his Twitter, and it's in the description box below. You can all check out his Twitter and follow him as well. Other than that, if you have already followed Shakib, you can see his work on his Twitter and on the website of Exord at exord.com. So yeah, thank you, Arnav, for being here today. Thank you for all the knowledge that you shared with us about ZK rollups.
Sure.
Anything that you would
Thank
like
you to
to
you for
add?
having me.
Anything that you
Yeah,
would like to add in the end of this podcast?
yeah, sure. So just one very generic thought is that if anyone is listening to this podcast and is not working yet on blockchain, like just go for it. I mean, right now there is so many professional opportunities on the space, no matter what is your skill set. Like of course, like if you are a developer, it feels like more intuitive that you can work here, but besides developing, like we need writers and community managers, all sort of designers and any different thing. And like right now the space is lacking professionals, I would say. like definitely like there is tons of money to pay good salaries to people that is passionate and willing to work for this amazing space. And yeah, so that's kind of my message for everyone listening this podcast. Like, just go for it, get into the rabbit hole, and make this great decision, which is working in this amazing space.
That's a really good suggestion for everyone as well. So thank you enough for being here. And everyone, if you like the podcast, just give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel on Blockship. You can also have this podcast downloaded through Google Podcast. The links would be shared with you. So I think that's it, Shakib. It was really nice having you, Arnav, and we'll see you again in some time.
Sure. Bye.
Goodbye, Arnav.